So, good morning and welcome back. As you can see, I'm at a station. This is Innsbruck train station, and I'm about to take a train from here to Bologna, then from Bologna to Parma, and from Parma to Pontremoli, and then head up to the house for a few days. So the sun is shining. You can see some mountains there in the background, and you can see some more mountains there in the background, surrounded by mountains as always here. So it's going to be a long day. It is a long trip, but special offer, so it's cheaper than anything else by quite a lot. And it'll give me a couple of days to keep cracking on the floor and doing other things. So I've got about 20 minutes till the train goes, and then we'll see how we get on. Well, it's the next morning. It was an incredibly long trip on the train. It is cheap as chips, and it's quite nice to look out of the window and do some work on the way down, but it takes forever. It was almost 8 o'clock by the time I got here last night. But there we go. The weather here is fabulous. It's very, very warm, although the weather in Innsbruck was pretty good too. And my floor has now set properly and is exactly as it was supposed to be. It's not the prettiest floor, but it works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the puzzle and lay out the stones where they will finally go. Make sure that none of them are too thick, because the floor isn't completely level, so there are bits where I need to use thinner stones, bits where I have to use thicker stones, but that's basically what I'm going to do now. Okay, well, you see the dark ones off the roof and the lighter ones from under the floor. You get the idea. They do seem to go together quite well, but I have a few more up in the roof, not that many more, so I'll make about half, more than half, a little over half of the floor with stone I have, and then I know where there's a pile. I have to go and speak to the owner and try and wangle those. So I think it's going to look lovely, to be honest. They do, some of them just fit in perfectly. That corner there is just right, but I'm going to have to do some more faffing about there, I think. So there's a hole and a hole and a hole, so not ideal. The bigger they are, the more difficult they are to place, so I guess I should put them in the middle somehow and work around them, but we'll see. But yeah, it doesn't look bad, really doesn't look bad. I think it's going to look fabulous, and it will fit in with the stone floor on the other side. So I'm going to go and find out about the other stones today, and I'm going to start emptying out a bit on that side, just putting it outside, get rid of that door can go completely. Let's see how many more stones are up there. Oh, there's still a few big ones, maybe another 10 or 12 there, another 4 or 5 there. So yeah, well, we'll definitely get something done. So there we go. Let me know what you think. I need to find just the right grout to go between them, because they'll be bedded on the concrete, and then we'll see what goes on above. So yeah, interesting. So I finally got rid of the chute. The noise you can hear is me walking over the stones, and this is the view down the road from the kitchen window. And if you just ignore the ruin next door, which unfortunately I'm going to have to do for a while, it's really quite nice. It brings a lot of light into the room. So if you can imagine everything white, this will be a lovely light kitchen, and obviously that, not a fully wooden door. So I'm underneath the back terrace, which is where I keep the quad when I'm not here. I was just thinking I need to redo this gate, which is completely self-destructed over the last year. And I thought I'd show you two things here. So let me turn the camera around. Okay, well, the first of the two things is this, again, which we looked at a couple of years ago, but we're directly underneath the kitchen where I just poured that concrete floor. And as you can see, this is an arch. So in the middle bit here, up to the bottom of the floor upstairs, is about 70 centimetres. It's all stone, and it's in pretty good shape. There's not really much mould at all down here, and it comes across here we're underneath the hall, and that was done obviously a little bit more recently. And down at the far end then we're underneath that little room that comes off the kitchen there. So and these are obviously the huge stones that I've mentioned many times. There's one there, another one over there in the corner, and one in the middle, that the house was built on. This is the oldest wall in the house here. and everything under here is in excellent condition. So I'm not risking much taking weight off and putting weight back on up there. Nothing here has moved really. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is, as I came down, I was just going to get the quad out, I noticed, which I hadn't noticed before, that there are in fact quite a lot of small flat paving stones here as well. They're certainly not particularly rare around here, but it looks like even part of the floor here was laid out with stone at some point. So that's quite useful really. I might be able to get some more up inside. This one looks like it's broken at some point from something, but they've obviously not always been there. So I might come down and have a sweep and see what I can borrow from here. Stones like this is a very useful little kind of filling of hole stone, and there are some over there. There are in fact a lot. So yeah, that's good news. But I am going to get the quad out. I'm going to head up to where I should be able to pick up some more stone and talk to the guys there. So here are the stones I'm talking about, and I think with those and what I found downstairs we'll probably get the whole thing done. But unfortunately there's no one here to talk to. There's trucks coming up and down because they're redoing a bit of the road. Okay, well, I've had a good hunt around now, and that's pretty much what I found. Some of them are very thick, so they might not all be usable, but there's lots of little ones which are good. Most of them were actually stacked over here by the septic tank. Yeah, this area, like all of the downstairs areas, really needs a good tidy up. You know, things have been abandoned for generations and generations. The gas bottle is probably from 100 years ago. They seem to be just driving up and down with rubble, which is an interesting way of redoing the road, but I guess you can't really store anything. It's the same system I had. You just had to fill up the trailer and then go back down. But I'll show you, we'll go and have a look later on, and I'll show you what the road now looks like, or will look like. So yeah, I'm going to have to carry those up, but that's still not enough to get the rest of the floor done. And there's no one at the house, and apparently there won't be at the greenhouse where the other bits of stone were, and there won't be for a while. So I'm going to go and ask somebody else later on at aperitif time. Until then, while I'm down here, this doesn't look like it's moved much in the last few years. Take some pictures and compare. But yeah, it looks good. And this here is the gate I'm talking about, which yeah, well, it was never much of a gate, but I think I could get some bits of wood and make that look really smart with very little effort. It doesn't need to really do much except close. It's just I park the quad there and the wheelbarrow, and sometimes the cement mixer, which I'll have to bring down at some point when I'm finished with the cement. But there we go. There's our kitchen window. That obviously is going to need redoing at some point, the whole downpipe, and that was off the sink, so that'll go, because that's going down into rainwater, which it shouldn't. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to put a marker on that. Now I see a crack there in the middle of the arch. I'll have to put a little cement marker on there in a couple of days so that I can see if that moves. Other than that, basically everything looks pretty good. Okay, well, as I mentioned in a previous video, as you can still see, the whole tacker gave up the ghost a while ago at 245,929 kilometers. But I don't know how much petrol I've got. I don't know how fast I'm going. That's less important, but how much petrol is quite important. So I've got a second-hand one, and hopefully it'll work, and I'm just going to pop it in now. So for anyone who wants to do this, it's 3 screws, one there one there, and the third one is here, which holds this sort of surround plate in place, all a bit dusty, and that's it. And then you can just basically pull it out, which is what I'm going to do now. So here's the old one and here's the new one, and they are slightly different, but the plugs are the same. This one only goes to 200 and this one goes to 220, but it was very cheap, and it's in fact even dirtier than the old one, but there we go. I've got some cleaner there, so I'm going to give it a quick wipe before I pop it in, and then we'll see how it does. Turn my windscreen, oh no, my windscreen wiper's off. There we go. So that works. We have fuel gauge, which is very, very useful. It seems to be climbing up, and I presume that the speedo, but I'll check that next time. It is lit, but not lit the same way the other one was blue. I think this one lights up red. But that's not a problem. And I've only got 177,000 kilometers. So lucky I'm never going to sell this car, because otherwise I'd be done for fraud. But that was a quick and very useful solution. Okay, well, good morning and welcome back. Bright and early the next day. Slightly overcast now, but it is early, so plenty of time for that. First job of the day today is going to be getting the rest of the stones down from where they're hidden up on the roof, and laid out so that I can see exactly what's missing. Go and get the stones up that we found yesterday. Yeah, and basically just keep going and jigging and rejigging and re-rejigging the jigsaw puzzle. So I went and checked upstairs before I lugged these up, and they're just too thick. I've nowhere to put them. So I've got this, and I'll show you what I just took down off the roof once I've lugged these back up. Okay, so that's my full haul, plus this one over here in the corner. Quite heavy. So yeah, just put this back on time lapse and do some more puzzling. I'm not convinced actually about what I've done so far, but yeah, I'd rather spend a little bit more time playing with it and then mark them all up and take some pictures so I know which way round they go, rather than having, you know, some huge holes or gaps to deal with later on. So yeah, I'm going to get these laid out and we'll see how we get on. I say, so it might seem a little bit funny. I started here as well, but these are the very thin stones. And when I was pouring concrete, for some reason, as I got to the end, I was just chucking buckets in there, and that is a bit higher now than the rest of the floor. So I'm going to get a level on it in a minute anyway, just to make sure that I can get away with that. But for the rest, well, we're not bad. In fact, there isn't really much of a hole. If I could get those stones up at the greenhouse, then I'd probably be fine. I'm going to have a serious think about the gaps, what to do with the gaps. Over there, see, there are little stones and bits of cement in between. So we'll have to see. That's too big, you know. That's a hole. That step there is too high, so that'll have to come out and go somewhere else. It might fit in there actually. Looking at it, which would be quite neat, because there I do have the height. So yeah, I'm just gonna put some levels on and see how that corner shapes up. You might be able to see it on camera that it is slightly higher. There's not much in it. I mean, it's a centimetre or two, but for a professional floor layer like me, that's a lot. So yeah, I messed up on that, but there we go. Yeah, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to write. I found the contact information of the guy who could give me a go-ahead on going picking up those stones. So I shall give him a WhatsApp in a minute and see what he says. The cornerstone fits well, and I've got enough room to level it. But here, for some reason, there's like a mound, and that would have been the absolute last bucket that I chucked in. So I'm going to have to drop that a little bit, because I can't get a stone on there. That's too high. So I'm going to cut a few grooves in it and then hammer it away, just like a centimetre. Basically, it's just, you can see it here. It's this bulge, which is a bit unfortunate, but there we go. Do things properly, and you only have to do them once. Okay, well, I've got my laser set up, so as you can see, those over here by the door just scrape the level right up by the door, but they literally just scrape it, as does this one. But the problem is this stone here, and that's the bump we saw. Everything else gets really looks quite good underneath that, and that's following a line from that stone on the wall, so the last stone across, because this floor isn't perfectly level front to back this way. I'm going to always level with the floor next to it, so this floor here, the new bit, won't be perfectly level either, but unfortunately it goes the wrong way to what I poured. So I'm going to go and get my angle grinder, as I said, chop out that little high bit, and then we should be fine. Everywhere else, it's excellent actually. Let me turn the laser around and I'll show you. As you can see there, I'm just scraping the top of that, and yeah, this is too high, but everywhere else is fine. In fact, there's quite a lot of room, so I'll have to lift it up a little bit. But you see there's a little tiny dot on the corner of that stone there, but that's the vertical, not the horizontal, so don't worry about that. So basically, yeah, this side is lower. I dug it out deeper, and my concrete is lower, but the floor sinks down that way, so I basically did everything backwards, as usual. But I think we're going to be okay, because obviously these are natural stones. Some of them are thicker, some of them are thinner. I think it'll be fine, and I think it's going to look great when it's finished. It's just a shame I haven't got the stones now for this little hole. Otherwise I would probably start cementing them in. So there we go, I've just sort of grooved it out because it's only a little bit, I mean it does, the whole area gets a little bit higher, but we can cheat that. So that's the turn of the hammer drill. And there we go, that's got rid of that hump. So I'll get the level on it and a thin stone, and we'll see how we get on. There we go, no more red, obviously except the vertical stripe, and still over at the door a little bit high. I have to think about what to do there. I think in fact if we just take the, you see there's just stuff there, just the last little bits of concrete rubble. A good sweep will probably get that down to level, and everywhere else we're good. So perfect, a result. So the chap with the stones called back and said he'd let me know tomorrow, so that sort of is going to slow things down a little bit. So I might go for another hunt and see what I can find. So what I'm going to do, because obviously I have a limited amount of time here, is I'm going to start laying. I'm going to reorganize these and try and get this first section perfect, and then I'm going to start bedding them down. And what I think I'll do, actually, despite what I've laid out here, is bring the stones from where there are stones across, rather than in rows from the door back. I think that's going to make more sense about getting it level and making it look right. Although in fact, having said that, I'm going to work diagonally across, so I'm going to have to find a solution for that because that one's too high. It might fit in here, we'll see, but I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to reorganize everything, check everything with the level, and then go and make some muck to stick them down with. Okay, so after a little bit of faffing about, reorganizing, I think we're pretty good there for the first layer of stuff that are going to be of stones that are going to be set. I did have a go at reorganizing a stone or two with a hammer, and that's a lot harder than it looks. So I broke this one, and I knocked a little edge off this one here. So I won't be doing much more of that because that doesn't really work. So I think what I'm going to do now is get the mixer going, and I'm going to start with that stone there. I'm going to set him, and then move across, do the door, make sure, you know, obviously with the spirit level, that each one is level to the next one along. And then I guess probably by the time I've set these, it'll be knocking off time for today. So I'll have to get the cement mixer out first, get everything set up. But yeah, I think this is a lot nicer than it was the first time round. The step outside is now flat. Obviously, outside is now much higher than inside, but that will come down because I have to redo outside anyway. These tiles look great, but everywhere else they're just they're rubbish. These ones here were underneath a sort of a little roof, if you remember, that I took off before I started doing the roof, and so they're protected, but everywhere else they're just completely destroyed by UV and the weather. You can see there's a tile layer and a sort of like a bitumen layer, so all that'll have to come out, as will the cement layer underneath. And we'll see, with a bit of luck, I should get down to more or less the level here. If I don't, then I'll have to put a step in afterwards on the inside so that we're higher than the outside, because otherwise water will run in if there's any sort of wind. But we'll see, that'll be next year. For now, I'm going to start setting this floor level with the old floor, because there's not much I can do. I have to keep that level, and then we'll work out afterwards what happens outside. There might well be stones underneath that. Obviously, again, you know, there are stone arches underneath, so there's a huge amount of stone. I'm not risking much taking some away, but what I need to do first is get this floor. So let's get cracking, get the cement mixer out, get some cement up, and get a first really nice wet slushy mix going on, so that I can bed these first stones in. Okay, so the first 4 stones are set and level, which will give me a good plan. You see how much is missing when we go down. So so that was the first bag. So it looks like there's going to be quite a lot in. Obviously, there's a lot less over there, but that won't be concrete either, because the stones in it would be too high. So that'll just be cement sand. So I'm going to basically just keep going, make another box, another bag, and when they've set a little bit, I'll spray these down and brush them to get the cement marks off, but they'll come off with polishing anyway, I think. So yeah, I'm going to come across here now. As I said, I'm going to work sort of diagonally. I'm going to do the step, get that flat, because that's going to be quite difficult, I think, and then move back towards me. So there we go. Let's get another mix on the go. Okay, so those are the first ones set. I think it looks pretty good, and I'm going to leave them to dry. That's going to be it for today, so that I've got a nice level to work with, because I keep leaning on them and stuff, so I'd rather go slowly and get it rightish. Obviously it won't be perfectly flat because they're old stones, but I think it's going to look amazing once all of them are polished up, along with the ones next to them. I think we'll have a really good, really nice traditional floor in here. So there we go. So that's going to be it for today's video. That'll be part 1 of the floor. Hopefully by the time we get back, I'll have some more news on the stones up at the other house, and hopefully that'll be okay and I can go and get them. Otherwise I shall have to find a plan B. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way it's looking so far. I think it's going to look amazing when it's done. So there we go. Feedback on the last couple of videos. Well, the house tour with Eleanor, looking at houses that are for sale in the region, that went down really, really well. So I'll be doing that, I guess, every maybe 6 to 8 weeks, probably. We'll see how much time she has, how much time I have. Thank you very much for your comments about that and about the other videos. I know everything's not perfect here. I'm really sorry about the camera work on the house tour. I will really pay attention to that. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. This is the way the channel goes. It means that I get to spend more time here. The more subscribers I have, the more time I'm able to convince myself that I should spend here making these videos. So if you like these videos, please do subscribe. And tell your friends, help the channel to grow. Thank you very much to everyone who's bought me a coffee. That's obviously also super, super useful. Yeah, so that's about it. The sun is shining. I'm going to go and have a shower. As you can see, I'm desperately in need of one. And I'll see you all in the morning. So I hope you're all well. Take care and bye-bye for now.